everybody. Welcome to the CantinaMX podcast. This is Albert Campa. We're in episode 230, and I'm here with Joel. What's going on, Joel?
Greetings, Chiquis. Been enjoying this Pizarro novela.
Oh, yeah. So he's going to Miami. He's in Miami currently. He got swarmed and protected by police at the airport.
Oh, I missed that. I did not. I saw a video and there was only one guy. He was singing some song. He already had a song for Pizarro, and it was one guy singing, and there's like three guys behind him with their phones. And so that's what I thought was waiting for him. But you're saying there was a
Oh,
big
wait.
turnout.
Well, I guess there wasn't a big turnout. I'm looking at the video now. It seems like a lot of people, but yeah, there's not really.
Okay.
A
I said,
ton.
well, they needed police and he's getting swarmed. I
Well,
was
he,
like,
he's
God
got he's
dang.
got police like around him.
Well,
He's got police all around. Like he's got some huge dudes.
I know the owner of the club, one of the owners, sort of, went to greet him at the airport.
Yeah, man. The only thing I gotta say is Martin de Palacios pretty much brought up some good stuff, putting like to rest a lot of what I don't know if it's what Chicharito says or a lot of what the Liga MX community, Mexican pochos, whoever fans have been saying about he's gonna get a better chance to go to Europe in MLS, which Martin says is false. He also sort of
Well,
refutes what
yeah,
Chicharito said about being okay. So MLS is might be more viewed, but it's on in the middle of the night. And Rigo did an interview. MLS is on in Europe in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep, so it's not necessarily getting
okay,
views.
Chiquis,
Hold on. Let me
we're
let me
we're
let me finish. Let me
getting off
finish.
topic here, buddy.
No, but this is like the whole hype of this Pizarro move is
I
if he
well,
thinks
see,
he's
I
gonna
think it's
springboard, it's
salt.
not gonna happen.
I think it's salt, but I'll let you know why.
Well, yeah,
Go
okay,
on,
okay, yeah,
Chiquis.
like yeah. Let me finish, and then you can make the assault rifle claim to me. um,
Salt
so,
rifle.
so, so there's a lot of hype, and I don't blame him. He's gonna make money. He might not. Tom says he's might or is probably not happy at in Monterrey fully. Um, he got called by Beckham, so all this is good stuff. But I don't think he truly believes, and I don't think it's true that he's going to springboard to Europe. I think he's never going to go to Europe if it hasn't happened now. And I don't think he even has the skills to excel in Europe. Uh, Also, the viewership the viewership claim that MLS is a lot more viewed in Europe. Okay, it's on in the middle of the night because of the time difference. They show it live, I guess. Uh, if they recorded it, and showed it during the daytime, sometimes, I don't think, it would be in high demand to even take that kind of slot. But so no one watches it pretty much in Europe. It is there, but no one watches it. And one might say, okay, that's better than Liga MX. Liga MX isn't even there. Well, is it really better? I mean, there's probably no benefit at all because no one's watching it either way. No one's watching MLS and it's
Chiquis,
there. Liga MX isn't
Chiquis,
even
why
there
are we
and no one is
talking
watching
about this though?
because I'm because
But there's no need
I'm going behind the whole claim
because what?
of going to MLS. Like everyone's panicking and
Oh,
everyone's
okay.
and everyone's saying, and you see MLS um, outlets, MLS Twitter accounts, like
Yeah.
sticking it in Mexicans' faces of you guys are losing all your
Okay. Yeah,
players.
I've seen
You
some
guys,
of that.
MLS is growing. MLS is going to be great. Even our main man Walter Franco, soccer business expert, his claim has always been that in 5 or 10 years, Liga MX is going to be irrelevant in the continent.
Oh yeah, that.
Not just in Mexico. I mean, in Mexico, obviously not the case, but in the U.S., in
I,
Canada,
I
and
see.
everywhere else, it's going to be irrelevant. But not that Liga MX or MLS is going to beat Liga MX. Although I think he did say that. Martin also refuted that, saying that as long as the homegrown talent in MLS doesn't exceed the homegrown talent in Liga MX, then MLS is never going to beat Liga MX, even if they have all these
Well, see,
players and stuff.
Yon and I, our take is once MLS starts beating Liga MX to the top or to the better South American talent, then they're gonna overtake Liga MX because that's pretty much Liga MX is a lot of those clubs rely heavily on South Americans
Okay, but okay, so the
and
argument
and
against that though would be, are you going to stack MLS teams with purely foreign talent? Are there going to be
yeah.
11 foreigners on the pitch and no United States, no Americans at all? Because that's the
No, I
only
don't
way.
think.
That's the only way.
No, well, it doesn't have to be the only way because if you have, if you have a good amount, like four or five of really good quality, they'll make a difference.
No.
And it's not saying, it's not like the U.S. players are really bad,
Yeah, they are.
So, but 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 we're heading into a bunch of different topics here. And I think, yeah, I did think that Pizarro making that comment, it opened that up, it opened that box up, and then the discussions all over the place now. I think the main thing is that we're seeing right now is the league, you could say aggressively going after the top Mexican talent and offering them really good contracts, which is a good thing because that means that in Mexico, the good players could start getting valued more because there's now another market competing for them. So if you're a rising star in Mex, teams gonna value you more because there's a league over here saying, hey, we'll hook you up. Where you've seen, and Pizarro's one of the ones that kind of got, kind of got, which goes into the whole Europe thing. He kind of got roped in where Pachuca sold him to Chivas for this huge contract, and while there was no, he didn't have like any offers. Once that offer, once Chivas paid what was like the reported 17 million, that pretty much closed the doors, um, or made it very difficult for him to leave because that was so much money. And then Monterrey going in and paying similar. I think they paid 18, so they paid like one more million. That just made it like even a bit more difficult to go just because it's just a lot of money for a player of his caliber. Just because, and it goes South America is gonna have players of his skill level who are gonna be worth like less than half, and that's where, you know, that's where it backfires for him. Um, but see, he was kind of put in this situation where it was like it got made really difficult for him, and we've seen if you saw the interview when he went to Monterrey, how he said he didn't have much of an option. They just told him one day, "Hey, you've been sold."
Mm.
That's it. He said he just got a phone call and said, "Hey, you're no longer on the team. Monterrey bought you." And so I think there's more transparency in MLS, and I think players are gonna start preferring that, where they have more say in where they go. And so I think that should be one of the main topics, not which league could get you to Europe. I don't think that really matters. If you're good, you're gonna end up in Europe. Uh, Especially if you're a younger player. Um, as far as for like Pizarro going, he could still go, man. I think we're focusing too much on the price. Topic we'll get in a little bit.
Well, you can take a
Uh,
pay cut. Like, even if he
but
takes a pay
well,
cut.
no, not really. Well, maybe, but I'll tell you what, Chiquis. There's a thing called loan, and they could easily loan him out, and he could play a few months. And because if that's the thing, like, oh, I would really like to play in Europe just to play. not exactly go do my whole career. He could do it. I mean, Landon Donovan played 2 seasons.
Yeah,
I think it was with Everton, but he played in the Premier League for like 2 seasons. He went on loan both times, and he did really good. So it's not like, so yeah, if Beckham could be like, hey, I could probably get, my best guess would probably be like PSG. I'm guessing. I don't know what the rules are in France. I would say they're a bit more lax than in England or in Spain. And if they could like just, you know, use him for like 6 months or whatever, he got to play in Europe. At least he got to do that and got it out of the way. But I don't think that's his main goal. That to be like, okay, I want. It probably was. It probably was at one point, but then the offers never came. Even Monterrey said we had no offers from Europe except for like a loan deal from Russia. So yeah, the offers never really came. So I guess he was like, this is this is as good as it's gonna get with Inter Miami. You know,
yes,
um,
yeah,
and
that's more
and I would say
realistic.
about the price, Chiquis, because so so I think he had a release clause for 12 million. So but the release clause was only from clubs from abroad. And see, this is where fans need to pay attention right here. So yeah, because Monterrey is supposedly pretty salty about this because they weren't expecting an MLS team to swoop in and take them. You know, the release clause just said to go abroad, it didn't necessarily state European only.
Yeah,
And and so they lost money like in that transaction.
yeah, I don't know too much of the Rayados side of it, but I mean, I don't. If I was a fan, I wouldn't be too
But
worried. I don't think he was like
no, no,
a
no. For the
critical
club, the club. No, I know it's a fan, but I mean the club is still gonna feel like
feel the
you,
hit.
you lost. Yeah, you took, especially because he wasn't there that long. What was he there for? 6 months.
Yeah,
Um, how long was he there, Chiquis?
I think it was two
How long
seasons.
was he? Maybe a year. So a
Yeah, a
year.
year.
He was there 1 year. So yeah, they lost. They could have lost a good 5-6 million. Uh, ouch, ouch. He did help him to a título. So there's that. There's that. But Chiquis, we're gonna. That's that's Chicharo, Vela. They have Jonah and now Pizarro and Puli. I forgot Puli and Puli comes in as one of the top strikers at least when he came. So yeah, I do think the league's gonna it's gonna start paying some close attention there. Some of their players, or those are gonna risk losing their top talent. Which my hope is that, and it's something that I talked a lot with John, is that this this would open up more spaces for more Mexican players. And I do think if some of the clubs were smart enough, they could profit from it.
Yeah, I still see the retirement stigma there. This move by Pulido or by Pizarro doesn't really take that away. I think the main input that I saw from Martin was that Liga MX or MLS is still not going to beat Liga MX if they keep on getting these types of players without the American player
Well, see,
improving. And if the American player doesn't
yeah,
improve, which I don't think it ever will, then MLS isn't going to make it. MLS is not going to be the top club or the top team.
well, see, why is that the talking point though? Why is Pizarro going to Inter? Why does the topic turn into Liga MX versus MLS? And like that shouldn't even be
Th-
be
this
the
is what
discussion.
MLS
Like
wants. This is
I
what
don't.
MLS wants, though.
I don't think. No, I don't.
Yeah, the
Their
MLS,
business, they
Dallas.
want.
I know it's business. Dallas, they only want Pizarro because he's Mexican. They only want Chicharito because he's Mexican.
Well, yeah, well, the
Because they want to sell things.
yeah,
And the proof is here. The proof is FC Dallas tweets, "Get your season tickets to FC Dallas so you can see the Mexican superstars whenever they come to Dallas to play us." How pitiful is that? So this isn't about
well,
like we're bringing in these good talents so our team can get, titles and stuff. This is about I want to get all these Mexicans who work hard in construction or whatever, and they can come spend all
in
their dollars
construction.
or whatever it is, man, whatever. or
No,
bank
but
or
Chingy's,
bankers and they can go spend all their money, like their whole paycheck, to come and buy season tickets, and we can be rich.
but I've seen a difference because when the league started and they brought in all these name guys, Hugo Sanchez, and then it was Jorge Campos, and then they were bringing in all these older guys, um, Claudio Suarez, Luis Hernandez, Hermosillo, brought a bunch of these dudes, and didn't have the impact that they expected. And they would bring in crowds. I remember when Luis Hernandez, his first game, and it was at the Rose Bowl, and a lot of people showed up, you know, because Rose Bowl's pretty big. It's like 90K. And there was about 50 or 60,000 people there when I think the team was averaging under 20. So it just looks pretty impressive. As I remember seeing the game, it was boring. they, they do this long kick, and Luis Hernandez runs at it, and he doesn't get to the ball, and it bounces like it bounces on the ground. And I think the goalie was expecting Hernandez to kick it, and he gets stuck coming out of the porteria, and then the ball just goes
Oh my
just goes
god.
over him and into goal. And Hernandez runs celebrating
Oh my gosh.
like he scored the goal, but he didn't even touch it. That,
Those are the early
that
years,
that
man.
kind of that kind of summarized, that's a pretty good analogy for what it was with a lot of these early Mexican stars that
And
came here. Even Rafa, Rafa Marquez had just a horrible attitude, man. Um, and but I think Cuauhtemoc did it right. I do think he le echó ganas, and then like more recently, you had some other dudes like Cubo. Cubo was doing pretty good. He up until Vela, he was the Mexican with the most goals. So that I think that says a lot about the attitude. A lot of the Mexicans that would come here, and to them it was just, yeah, it was a whole retirement, or I'm just getting this paycheck, and they weren't taking the league so serious. But you had someone like Cubo, who was just like a young player, and like an upstart, and he ends up becoming the top Mexican goal
well,
scorer.
he was a washout, dude. Like
Well,
he couldn't hang in Chivas, so he ends up going to MLS. Like all these players we're talking about has a negative brings a negative light to MLS.
no, Chiquis, it's not that he couldn't hang. I don't know if you remember, but
Yeah, it is,
he
dude.
was accused. He was accused of rape.
Oh shoot.
He was at a party, and this girl said that he got her drunk, that he kept giving her drinks that were spiked. Uh, con what they were saying, con piquete, sin piquete, or con diablo, something like that.
Mm.
Was like the code word,
Oh no,
and
dude.
and so yeah, it was a big case, and it sort of messed it up because he had just returned to Chivas, and that just kind of messed him up, and so there was a big whole investigation, and it turned out that you know uh, she was like nothing really happened. She had just I think she was just trying to get money from him, similar to what's his face, Oribe. I don't know if you remember the whole Oribe thing too, where some people wanted money because they had some compromising pictures.
Mm,
But he called the cops, and then when they were supposed to do like some exchange, they apprehended the people. But that messed up Cuba, man. I mean, that's some harsh stuff to go through. And he was a young guy, but it at the same time highlighted some of the stuff going on in Chivas, where all these young players just kept getting wrapped up in parties and you know all this like extra cancha stuff. Pulido crashing his car, drunk driving, and then you had
trophies.
just too much stuff, man. where where it's like yeah, that's why the club was going through some turbulent times. But I do think I don't know, man. I see, to me it's petty to compare the leagues. I see no necessity for it. I used to see some of it way back when. I don't know if you remember, way back early big soccer. Uh, but you would hear like if you like read the stuff from the Argentine fans every time like a player went to Liga MX. Like so my best example is damn, what's that guy that went to Cruz Azul? Damn, what was his name? He was a delantero and he was from Rosario Central. Uh,
Figueroa
what was his name? No, he was two. They both came from Rosario.
yeah,
One was Luciano Figueroa
and Chelito
and
Delgado.
Chelito, el Chelito Delgado. Yeah, and then they both ended up at Cruz Azul, and they were Bielsa. Bielsa was big in them, and Bielsa was like, because I think he gave them the blessing. Uh, he gave them a blessing and saying like, because Bielsa had coached in Mex, and he's not caught up in you have to be in this league, you know, type of thing, which is very similar to Tata, because I think Tata also gave Pizarro said, you know what, just if you're playing good, I'm gonna call you up. Like I don't really, you know. So, but yeah, and I remember reading the comments, and it was the whole same thing. Like, oh, he's never getting to Europe now. It's retirement. Just all super negative, super negative. Same with Hugo Rodallega, Colombian guy,
Mm,
ends up in Necaxa. You know, I remember Colombian fans are mad. They thought he should have gone to Argentina because that would have been the better jumping point. So I mean, I've seen these discussions before. I just think if you're good, you end up in Europe, man. I mean, granted, they probably won't buy him for all these millions, but if Beckham could get him someplace, even if he goes on loan, it could even be a year loan. He'll get to go and at least do that and play. Um, so I don't think it's out of the picture, man. A lot of times they make Europe seem like it's this hard to reach place, but it's not, man. If you look at the number of players they're always getting, it's like and even some of the players that go and then they don't do anything. We just don't read about them because they were just there for a very little short time. But it's not like something that is like, oh man, you made it.
yeah, my whole point in all this is just refuting the craziness that MLS fans are living right now. The the
I
it's
haven't. To
like
be honest, I haven't been reading the comments
the glory
from.
they're having
Oh,
their glory years
they're
going on.
enjoying this.
They're enjoying it. They're saying they're going to be the best, the world beating league, that they're humiliating Liga MX
Ah, no,
and
no.
Mexicans by taking all their players. That the All Star game is going to have more Mexicans than the Liga MX All Star All Star team.
That was the
All
joke.
this stuff.
But it's also Twitter, Cheeky. So Twitter, and this is something I've been wanting to touch for a while. I feel with social media, especially with like Twitter, it is changing the way that we look at football or the way we react to it. And I know that a lot of people now, when they're watching soccer, they're on Twitter. So they're watching the game and whatever play, then then they go into the Twitter to see what the reactions are, or to try to get a reaction by posting something cheeky. So and I think that's changing a lot, the way that people view the game and the way they relate to it. And I think that's it's more reactionary now. It's not to see who, you know what I mean? I remember what was it last season? Uh, I would check tweets on Chivas, and the same picture will pop up of it's someone putting on clown shoes, and it'll be say, "Here we go again." That
Yeah.
was the same caption, and it's see a lot of the Chi hermanos posting like just reposting the same thing, and that was like, and so it's a lot of exaggerating. Same right now going on with the whole trying to fire Tena after 5 games, and I do think it's a lot of it is has to do with just the whole Twitter. It's changing the way that we view the game or we react to it. So I think the whole it's kind of silly, Chiquis, if we think about it. The whole
Well, well,
this rivalry thing going on.
well. It's no different.
It's business.
It's no.
Yeah, but it's businesses. Like they're gonna. That's why they're like meeting between Liga MX and MLS, and they have the Leagues Cup, and they're trying to do more stuff. I mean, these guys, they're pretty smart from Liga MX. They kind of know what's up, man. They know
Yeah,
where the market is
they're greedy.
or where the money is.
Yeah, they're greedy.
No, I don't think they're greedy, man, because Cheekies,
They're
man, you
boneheads, dude. You've mentioned it yourself that the MLS in many aspects is doing marketing and a lot of other things, organization and their social media and everything a lot better than the guys
yeah.
at Liga MX. The guys at Liga MX look
I,
incompetent in many areas, and they're good at just getting their money, at cashing their checks. And that's this whole partnership with MLS. That's exactly what it is. Just like some is cashing the checks from meaningless friendlies and things like that, where, like I say again, the Mexican fan will go and
well,
pay tons of money
yeah,
to go watch the national team play or to go watch Chicharito
but
play.
that's it. That's right there, Cheekies, is the money. You know, do we have John? Is John
Yeah,
joining
yes,
us?
John is on the
Like to
line.
hear,
What's
like
up,
to
John?
hear
John,
the
Hey,
Kolache Express.
do you hear the
Guys,
the beautiful hum of the highway?
yeah.
yes. Are you headed for some kolaches?
Well, I just
Or
left the studio, so I don't know if Kalachi's are in my future tonight or not.
So no
maybe,
Kalachi.
maybe. Oh,
Yeah. So
where were Chiquis? Where were you? Finish your thought before I lose my train of thought here, thinking of kolaches.
I lost my train of thought, but I was going off on
Did you smell the kolaches? Was
I was going off on MLS. That's for sure. Probably.
too much hate. I think that whole narrative, well, there's too much focus being put on league versus league.
Oh, this
It's
is what I
pretty
was gonna say.
childish to me.
This is what I was gonna say, dude. Like, yeah, social media, we might look at it in a negative light and like see like all the Twitter reactions and comments and think it's just like hate or someone trying to have a cheeky comment. But I see social media as sort of like the next day at work, you're at the water cooler and you're talking
Cause the
about
water cooler.
you're talking about Liga MX with all the guys at work. That's the same thing as I see social media. Now, sure, there's an anonymity. You're anonymous
Yes,
to certain aspects, so people might be more brazen and might like talk smack a little bit more with insults and things. But it's pretty much the same thing. You're just getting together in a community and discussing your interest of soccer or whatever it is.
it's true. It's true. But I'm saying because of that anonymous stuff, you get to be more just
More of a
more out
dick.
there. Yeah, like, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, there's direct insults, and then there's takes that might bother people because they're direct, and that's not they're not insulting, but they're things you wouldn't say, like Chivas, Super Chivas. Look what they're doing now. They're they're doing horribly. Everyone was saying they were going to be the
That's the
Galactic Chivas and they're going to win the title and all these things.
everyone.
And
That's the
now look at
media.
them. So no, normally you wouldn't say that. Like if you're at a water cooler and you're looking at a dude face to face, you wouldn't go and say, "Yeah, Chivas suck right now." No, you wouldn't. But in Twitter, yeah, you sure would. So that type of
What
thing
it's
Yeah,
is.
but
it,
that's such a mild version of what you're talking about.
I know, but that's the normal things. I know personal insults and direct insults. Yeah, that's one thing that's on Twitter, and you could just ignore. But I'm talking about other direct things which you wouldn't say in person, but are people would call like, oh, that's a bad take just because it hurts my feelings. It might be true, but it's against my team, or it's not the narrative I want if I'm promoting MLS, and so I'm going to call it a bad take, which is just not right. Just because your feelings hurt over something that you might disagree with, but is factually correct. The social media is out there, and I think that's good to know. To a certain level, critical, opposing arguments and input that's out there on Twitter. Now, insults, yeah, that's another thing. Like if you're just gonna call someone and insult somebody, then that's something else.
And that's like sadly about 90% of most of
I don't see it that much, but it might be who I follow. I see a lot of just a lot of arguing, a lot of good discussion that might look as arguments or heated discussion. Insults, I don't really even see that too much. I guess a lot of the community that I follow isn't anonymous. They're people that have a picture to their name. They're not bots or things like that. Especially in the Liga Mix community. But yeah, I mean, I know we've had, well, maybe in the chat, recent disagreements with Martin. I think Martin on this whole MLS Liga MX stuff has been pretty spot on, even with
but you know
his.
what he has. But the thing is that a lot of people kind of have their hand in the ground. Is MLS, is it technically as sound as Liga? But the reality is that there are very few leagues that are. I mean, and that's just telling the truth. But Liga MX, the way it's going, it's frankly just not sustainable. And I mean, they're losing more and more players, quality players, to MLS. And I think if you look at the best teams roster from like the best MLS team, say LAFC or Seattle, and if you look at their 1 through 11 and compare them to Monterrey, who just won 1 through 11, I'm willing to bet that probably like 1 through 7, the guys are pretty comparable. Now the big difference is the guys that are 8 through 11, and then the huge difference is the guys that are 12 through 20, or I guess in this case 18. 12 through 18. That's where you see the major discrepancy. But
The
you know,
discrepancy in favor of who, though?
in favor of Liga MX, Liga MX
Okay.
just has more depth.
Yeah.
As it should. It's been around a lot longer. They're more established, and we get that. And they also, their player pool is a little deeper because they have the academies. And that, I mean, you have to remember, MLS. I mean, the team's academies are just they're fledgling. They're just starting. I mean,
they
FC
don't have
Dallas,
salary cap.
they don't have a salary cap. Well, they
Yeah,
do have a
that's
salary cap. They just, some teams just don't want to spend money, so they
no, no.
have a
I mean,
self-imposed salary cap.
you mean Liga MX?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but the bigger clubs, because some of the bigger clubs or the clubs that could afford to spend it in MLS, well, they're not allowed to. So you're not gonna get like the big four or whatever, like you have big four, big five, whatever you want to call it, like you have in most other leagues, where you have the big spenders that just open up the wallet. So yeah, I think that there's teams here, and I'm just going out there on a whim. You could say Galaxy, LAFC, Atlanta, just throw in Seattle just for sakes. or Toronto, whatever, that if they were allowed to, they could probably make stronger clubs. But I
Right.
think the rules here don't doesn't allow them, so they're pretty, you know, they 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 they're just it keeps them at another level, which is I think is something that the league here will eventually have to work with if they really do want to improve.
Well, I mean, to me, the big thing that MLS has to do in order to get better is they have to, I mean, the college entry draft is a nice thing, and it's a way for them to show some similarities to the other leagues that are, the other sports leagues that are in this country. But I mean, you can't tell me that's a good way to fill your roster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see no
that's
future.
You're picking guys that play.
I see no hope for United States soccer. I see no hope for MLS to get great American players and to fulfill that 18 to 24 and compete with Liga MX, or even 12 to 18. That those players that are supposed to not be the superstars but be the reliable homegrown United States American players. That level of talent's always going to be mediocre or lower, and that's going to be the
Well, I mean,
detriment.
it's definitely going to take a lot longer to play, but I do think that if they could get away the pay to play and the same thing is happening in baseball. I mean, this isn't baseball has become extremely expensive for kids to play, and it used to be, and I don't know what it was like for you, Chicas, when you were growing up in Alabama, but when I first moved to the States, now I played baseball when I was a kid in Mexico. We used to go to a vacant lot in Bosques de las Lomas every Saturday, and we played baseball, and we played soccer, and then we did like, and when I did that for 5 years of my life. And then I came to the States and I played a little bit more organized. I played Little League for 1 year. And I think it cost my parents like $90, and plus my uniform. And now, with all these select teams and all this travel and all this, it's upwards of between 5 and 10, and sometimes close to $20,000 a year just to play an organized sport. That's insane. It's insane.
even baseball cards you used to get them off the ice cream truck for like 50 cents. Now it's like
Yeah, I mean,
two
and then
dollars
and
and
then you look
fifty
at like,
cents for
and
a
you look
pack
at
of
Major League
three.
Base, you look at Major League Baseball now, and where it used to be, where if you look at a 25-man roster, if there were 2 or 3 foreigners on a team, it was a lot. Now I'm willing to say that most teams are probably more foreigner than American.
Yeah.
They're more Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans and Mexican
Yeah,
even, and so
So the pay to play in baseball
baseball.
for American exists, but if an American team knows that in Cuba or Dominican Republic the talent is there, those guys aren't paying to play in those countries. They just go and pick them up because they know that's where
yeah.
huge talent is at.
Well, wanted to tell Yon, like I was telling Chiquis earlier, I think there's too much focus on is this league improving? Is MLS going to overtake Liga MX? And I
It doesn't
think that's
have to.
just the wrong talking point. Exactly. I'm saying the focus should be on players like Pizarro, Vela, Chicharo doing extremely well because that would mean this league would be going after more of those players, which would improve their lot in Liga MX because now they just can't, you know, do with you. Like I was telling them earlier, I was telling Chiquis earlier how when Pizarro went to Monterrey, he didn't even have a say. They just told him, "Hey, you've been sold. Pack your stuff and leave. You're you're headed to,
Right.
Rayado country." But now if you're like one of the top players,
Nah, dude.
you're gonna
Well,
look
not
over
just that,
here
but
and you're gonna
they gave him a clausula that no Liga MX team was going to pay. But Miami was like, oh, we'll pay it. We got no problem. There you go. Tómala.
Yeah, but that
so,
see
They
that's the
called
whole
their bluff.
point
well
though.
wait
that's
but Chiquis, hold on. Let
all right.
me
Go
just
go go go.
let, once you have that, it's just it's like a good thing because that means that you're gonna get more and more players coming out of it, especially because Liga MX is not gonna. They'll be dumb to fight it, you know. They're not going to be like, okay, well, we're just gonna play extranjeros, because even they're gonna be also losing those as well. So they're gonna have to improve a lot of stuff. That's where the competition is healthy, where it forces you to improve or make things better. But I think there's a lot of clubs that could benefit from this and say, okay, we're gonna sell players. Pumas is one of them. I know they're going back to work in their youth. Pumas at one point was the top. And when you talked about youth, producing the top talent, they were all coming out of UNAM, and I know they're working on that again. And it's like if you see the numbers of some of the players that have left, Pulido for 10 million, Pizarro for 12 or 17 or whatever. I mean, you Pumas, you sell two or three of your canteranos. You think of the team they could build, you know?
Yeah, but
So I mean,
let's.
I think we're focusing on the wrong stuff, man.
Well,
You're
no,
you're
you're.
fighting
Well,
something that
you mentioned the wrong stuff though, man. You said they're
um
focusing on Mexicans
fans
excelling and
fans are
no.
focusing.
Well, who did you say is focusing on Mexicans excelling
The
in
fans
MLS?
because they're the fans because they're saying, oh, the MLS is retired. They're just thinking like uh, MLS versus Liga MX or
No,
is this
you
retirement league
no,
or this,
that's
and
something
it's
else.
like,
That's something else. You said that we should be worried about We should be concerned or be watching Mexicans and hoping that they excel and that they do well in
yes,
MLS
because
on the pitch.
yeah,
But
that too, because that opens more opportunities.
okay, but the sad thing is that MLS that could very well be secondary to what MLS wants these Mexicans for. MLS wants Chicharito and all these Mexicans not necessarily to win a title, but to sell jerseys and to sell tickets and to sell season passes and to make tons and tons of money off of Mexicans in the United States. That is the main motivation
He,
for getting Pizarro, for getting Pulido, for getting Chicharito, and all these
Well,
he,
guys
hang
over
on a
there.
second.
he could,
Why on earth would Miami, the South American capital of the world, want to want to think that Pizarro is going to be their center
Because
to
Mexicans will
sell
go
their
and
yeah,
watch it. Because Mexicans
to make?
living in Miami and around will go and watch that game. Will go and watch Pizarro. Pizarro, Pizarro's Mexican,
Yeah,
right? So Mexicans are going to go
there's
and
but
watch him.
there's a lot more South Americans in Miami or Mexico. But there's a lot more South Americans in Miami.
Yeah, sure. uh, I would be willing to bet there's plenty of Mexicans to make tons of bank off of.
If their
When
end all be all
when
was to
Mex
sell tickets,
yeah, when Mexico
why on
plays
earth
Moleros
wouldn't
and
they pick up an?
when Mexico plays Moleros, they go to Miami and they get a pretty good crowd. So that's one of the spots as well for the Mexican national team. So just because we typically think of Miami as South American or Cuban, Puerto Rico, and all this stuff. Well, there's tons of Mexicans there as well. Tons. That's like the vacation spot for Mexicans to go to Miami.
Yeah, but I mean, again, do I think of a Mexican player to
yeah,
build my marketing campaign around? Rodolfo Pizarro is not.
that's true. Yeah,
Well, Pulido's in Kansas City. Pulido's over there, and
Again, a guy.
what Mexicans live over there? Obviously, tons, and they're hoping to bank off of it.
yeah, but popularity wise, Pizarro's not on the top. He's not one of the top popular guys.
And neither is Pulido.
Yeah, that kind of discredits you a bit there, Chiquis.
No,
And I was
you
saying
Pizarro's not a top.
MLS already went
Pizarro's not a top
Chiquis.
attraction. Pulido's just won the scoring title. He's one of
No,
No, not
they're
not
two of the
not to
top
Chicharo
guys.
or Vela
They're two
level.
of the top Mexicans, and they're Chivas. They're from Chivas, the top club in the top Mexican club in arguably if you're a Chivas fan, then
Pizarro's played for four clubs. For four clubs. What do you?
yeah, it doesn't matter. He played for Chivas. He's won a title with Chivas. He's beloved
Chivas
by
is
Chivas,
damaged
almost
goods.
like Mati.
Oh
Oh
snap!
dang! Now we
Now we
okay.
gotta.
Okay, we can
Why
disregard.
we gotta go there, man?
We don't have to go there, but I mean that we can agree, but we don't have to go there. He is a huge
Well,
star.
I
Pizarro is a
understand what you're
huge star.
saying, and when I think of like bringing in Ramirez and Jorge Campos and Luis Hernandez,
Hugo
then
Sanchez.
I kind of see your point. Hugo
Yeah,
Sanchez, I saw him play for Dallasburg,
for the
and
Dallas.
scored a chilena, scored a chilena.
Oh man, he
Yeah,
delivered.
it was incredible. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was so like, the weird thing was that the dude sitting in front of me, his name was also Sanchez. Unbelievable.
Man,
But you have to remember. I mean, Diego Alonso was Rodolfo Pizarro's coach.
yeah,
So
that's who we pushed. That's who pushed for him.
yeah,
I don't think it was
and
Beckham.
no,
Or John, do you think Beckham was watching from his comfy home in England or Paris or wherever? You think he was staying up and watching Liga MX
watching
stream?
Liga MX on the Pirata feeds on La Roja
He's
Directa.
like, he's like, I think this Pizarro guy would be just perfect for our.
Yeah, the guy that didn't play in the World Cup or the Gold Cup.
These guys
Or
are
the
analyzing.
Gold Cup.
These guys are analyzing and studying the Mexican market. They know what is up. They know what is trending in Mexican soccer. So based off of that, they might even
Yeah,
not
but I mean,
know
again,
if he's right footed or
if you're
left
gonna
footed.
do that, then go get the marketable.
Yeah,
Well, they got
Pizarro
Rodolfo
didn't even
Pizarro
go
is
to the
just
World
not
Cup.
market.
they got to
Yeah,
stay. I mean, they're
he
not
didn't
going to
even
Just
bring.
do
not a
World Cup, man.
marketable guy. He's a good player, but he's not. I mean,
Hey,
how many
He's
billboards or posters do you see
they,
of Rodolfo
they,
Pizarro?
yeah,
he's the
they
top.
took a one-legged Gio to the World Cup
He's
over
the,
Pizarro.
he's the best marketable guy they're going to ever be able to get.
No, Cheekies, come on, man.
They're not getting no Gio. They're not getting Raul Jimenez. They're not getting uh, who else is over there in
Oh,
Europe right now.
So what does that
They're
say
not
about
getting
Liga
those dudes
MX that when MLS cast Gio dos Santos away,
because
he,
that dude's
they
over the
did
hill.
he ends up
promote.
at America? So where's the retirement?
Oh,
That
they
dude,
paid him to leave, Cheekies.
yeah, he's like post retirement now. That dude's done probably. I mean, he's like Rafa went to MLS, right? Didn't he go back to Atlas to play for like a couple of games or something to like
No,
No,
finalize it?
he went
to Leon.
to Italy. He went to
Huh?
Italy before he went to Leon.
Okay,
No, went
so
to
there you go.
Pachuca. Didn't he go to Pachuca and then
No,
Leon?
he went to Verona,
Oh,
and then he went to Leon,
Okay,
and then he went to Atlas.
so you got your MLS retirement league, and then you got your farewell visit back to Liga MX. That's pretty much what that is.
So Rafa retired in Liga MX. He didn't retire at MLS. He retired in Liga MX.
He retired in MLS.
Chicharito's going to retire in Liga MX.
He retired.
it's sad
Giovanni
but
is
true.
retiring in Liga MX.
Rafa
That
retired.
is true
what's
right
the
there,
real
man.
retirement league?
No,
What's the real
that's
retirement
what I'm saying.
It sounds like it's Liga MX to me.
No, wrong.
Well,
Rafa,
where did these guys retire? When
listen
they were
listen to what I'm saying.
retire
Listen
in
to what I'm saying.
MLS?
Listen to what I'm saying.
Well,
Rafa
let me tell you the
retired in
facts.
MLS. He retired in MLS, and he's
He
doing his
he
farewell.
retired.
He played 5 more years after he retired.
He's doing
So
his
how did he
farewell,
retire in
and
MLS?
he's doing his farewell in Liga MX. He
But
retired.
he played
Chicharito
for 5 more years. So how did he retire?
retires from Europe to MLS, and then eventually, I doubt it, he might do
Yeah,
a
and then he's going to
farewell in
retire in
Chivas.
Liga MX. He's going to
A
retire in Liga
farewell
MX.
in
Ah,
a farewell in Liga MX, and
oh,
then
it's a farewell.
the same with all these other
He's
players.
calling it the farewell.
Well,
See,
It's a
see, this
farewell
is what
look
always
tour.
at
cracks me
Cuauhtemoc
up about
Blanco.
folks.
Cuauhtemoc Blanco. How many farewells did he have for the national team? That's the same thing.
Yeah,
You can,
he
you
went
can
to
call it
Liga.
two
He
or
went to MLS, and then
you
he
can
went back
no.
to
I'm
Liga
talking to
MX, and then he
national team.
retired.
National team. He went to Puebla or Chiapas. Had like a farewell or retirement from the national team,
Puebla was his last club.
and then he went to
Yeah.
And then
somewhere.
he went play in
No,
the second division.
I'm talking about the
Yeah,
national
he
team.
played like
won the
three or
Copa
4
MX.
years.
I'm talking about the
He
national
played
team.
3 or 4 years after his MLS. So once
Yeah,
another
he
example
did.
of somebody who retired in Liga MX. So I
Yeah,
have a hard
Chiquis,
time believing that MLS is a
No,
retirement league.
you guys are
When
trolling.
all these
You guys are
guys that you're
trolling.
citing,
Trolling.
5.
You guys
How
are
are we
trolling.
trolling? We're giving you.
You're being
I'm just
you're,
giving you the facts.
you're
I'm
being
just giving you the
you're
facts.
being
Those
facetious.
are facts.
You're being facetious.
Well,
Yeah,
I have a hard
Chiquis.
time believing that
Facts
somebody's
don't care
retiring when they
about your
play
feelings,
5
Chiquis.
years after they've played in the league.
No,
How is
I
it
agree.
retiring?
Those are facts. I agree. Those are facts. But you're
Well, then
categorization of those
explain it.
facts is wrong. I just explained it.
What? That's wrong.
If you're in Europe,
They
you're
actually
at the top of your game. Where do you go next? You go to MLS. So you're retiring. Chicharito
no, you're not.
just plain he said it multiple times.
You're
MLS is a
cashing.
retirement
You're
league.
cashing in.
So
You're cashing in.
yeah, you're cashing in for retirement. So you retire, you go to a lower level league, and then eventually you'll do a nice thing to your country, and you'll go back and play in Mexico and say, okay, Mexico,
well,
I
see,
was born here.
this is the thing
I
because
started here. Now I'm going to
but
give back
Chiquis,
to you, and I'm going to play, like you said, John, not just 1 year, but maybe 2 or 3 years. I'm going to do
For
this, and I'm going to
5
be
years,
some
like Rafa did,
Drought five
like
years,
but
whatever.
Chiquis,
Cuauhtemoc
And
did.
I'm gonna have some beer belly gut like Cuauhtemoc did in America, and he's gonna
no,
play
you
his last,
can't.
and he's gonna play, his last five
Where's
years, 2 years, 3 years, like 6 years, however long,
Chi-
and he's gonna be doing
Chiquis?
that.
So
You
he's gonna
sound Russell.
retire in Liga MX.
Chiquis sounds Russell. Chiquis,
I'm
you
explaining.
know what? You could retire in Europe too.
Yeah, you can.
Because you have the players that, yeah, you can.
Yep,
There's all these players that are in the top teams, and then
you
they
can
end up
retire in
having to
China.
play
Didn't
to
Xavi
not
and them?
China, no, just go to like a mid-table or even lower table team.
Yeah, I mean, look at Raul.
Yeah,
Played for how many years in Real Madrid? They cast him aside. He ends up playing like what 6 or 7 years in Germany,
Yeah,
playing in the
and,
Bundesliga.
he,
It happens
and
everywhere, Chiqui.
Hugo Sanchez returned after MLS. He went to Austria. He played in Linz. So I mean, there's a lot of
also,
players that like. I think who was it?
so you agree with
Christian
me.
Vieri. Christian Vieri. He ended up going to. But like you see it like in Italy and even in Spain. Look at some of these top players that they'll end up in the smaller teams. In the mid-table or low-table teams. Uh, and well, guess what? They're not getting a lot of money. So a lot of those guys, of course, if they're marketable here and they'll be like, we'll pay you this much, then they do come over here. But a lot of them end up retiring in Europe.
Yeah, you can retire in Europe. You can retire wherever.
No, I mean, I think we make it a big deal thinking over there that, you have to be this good because we're only thinking about the top three, top four clubs of the top leagues. But if you see the lower teams, they're usually not that good or not that strong. Liga MX would routinely beat out La Liga teams for South American talent.
They don't
Man,
have the money.
They got to. What was this guy? I don't know if you remember him. You probably will, Jan, because I think he ended up going to Pumas. He was a Bolivian. He was supposed. He had like the record for most goals.
Oh, Botero.
Scored like yes, and he ended up coming to Liga MX if I'm not mistaken to Puma. But I think this uh, they beat him out. Oh, was it Tecos? Tecos got him. Tecos was not even around, Chiquis, and they paid more money for him than this team from Spain. I forgot the name of it, but it was
Well,
one of the
I mean, most
lower
teams,
teams.
you know, aside from like the big 5 or 6, I mean, those teams they don't have the kind of money to spend on players like that. It just doesn't exist. They don't have the budget.
Yeah, and you know what they would Chiquis. I don't know if you remember, but even because I used to keep track of like a lot of the transfers, even South Americans. You'd be surprised how many would be on loans. So I think what happens now, and this goes back to what I'm telling you with this whole social media, because we focus on just on very little, and I think that's part of it because we're seeing just how it is with the top clubs, with the very big clubs, and then we forget what it's like with the rest of it. Like each league has about 20 teams, but we're only talking about the top three, top four that are owned by like big billion-dollar, owners. A lot of those teams aren't even owned by. They're owned by like foreign companies now, like oil companies and whatnot. Uh, but the real clubs, the true clubs, the ones that are, you know, from from their origins, those dudes are, yeah, they're pretty broke, man.
Yeah, but
They're getting players on loan or whatever they could get, man. They'll take whatever they can.
yeah, I don't mean to diss MLS or call it a retirement league or denigrate it or anything, but I recall years ago where American fans and MLS fans would rag on Mexico and Liga MX, and Liga MX and Mexican fans would stand up to that and refute their false claims. Now, many Mexicans are joining the opposite side of this whole argument and coming up with these weak claims, promoting MLS over a bad Liga MX or a Liga MX that's collapsing or that's going downhill.
Well, I don't necessarily think Liga MX is collapsing, but I do think that they need to, you know, every time I hear someone like Martin or someone talking just laughing off MLS, the all I can think of is Vasco Aguirre the night before playing the USA. These guys don't play. They don't do anything. Don't even worry about it. That's all I can think of. Just pretend like they're not doing anything.
Was that a quote
That's
from?
what I think of
Was
when
that
I hear people laugh off MLS.
MLS or U.S. national team?
Well,
And I need to see a quote on that.
I'm making a comparison.
I'd need to see a quote. Not that I don't think not even just Vasco, but the whole squad of Mexican players had sort of an air of superiority over the United States national team in 2002. Uh, so yeah, that definitely existed.
I mean, MLS is throwing down the gauntlet. Not only are they. I mean, how on earth could Liga MX allow the 4 or 5 best Mexican players to play in North America and not play in Liga?
Yeah, and I think that's
I
what
mean,
stings
that is a
to the
massive indictment
fans.
of Liga MX.
That, I think that's what a lot of the Mex fans are hating. They just don't want to admit it. I
Yeah,
get it. They're being overly competitive here.
Well, no,
But
you see it, but the sad thing is, and I'll repeat it again, is they don't. It's like a cash cow. They're not using them because, oh yes, I really want to, a Mexican player. They know their market, so they want to make money. And that's sort of like
Chiqui,
insulting to the Mexican player,
I
to the
think that's
Mexican
back.
fan.
But Chiquis,
but but that
that's
is just such a
backfired.
yeah.
They tried it and it failed. They they because fans won't go if the player's not competitive, if it's not helping the team play good, if it's not helping the team, fight for championships, they're gonna stop going. And it happened with a lot of these players where, and I told you the example with Luis Hernandez. People went to that first match. It was about 50,
That's
60K
another era,
went to
dude.
the stadium.
That's really not applicable.
No, it's
That's a
it's
whole
which
other
one is
era.
that?
That's a
It
whole
So
still
other that's
applies.
a whole
It's
other
the same
generation.
thing. You see it in Mexico too. Look at Roque Santa Cruz arrives at Cruz Azul.
That's a
People
that's
go see him, man. He's always hurt.
that's
People
that's a
stop
that's a
going.
whole no,
Stadium's
that's a whole
empty.
nother generation
It's not.
also, man.
It's no.
Okay,
It's
look.
still Roque Santa Cruz was just like 2 years ago, man. It still applies,
No, that
Chiquis.
was like
These
seven
these
years
teams
ago, dude.
these teams are not gonna put all that money because you think they're gonna recoup it in T-shirt sales and at the gate, because that's not how
That's
it's gonna
that's
work,
exactly
man.
how it is,
The,
dude.
the fans aren't not the way football now that you
They
could
admit it.
see
Chicharito admits that.
any league on TV. He never said that. That's what
Yeah, yeah,
he said.
yeah, he
He's
does.
going to win.
Chicharito
That he
said,
wants to
I'm
win.
there to sell tickets and sell T-shirts."
He said exactly
So
that.
Chicharito admitted to. He
He
said
admitted
that.
he
Those
is
words came out of his mouth.
exactly. He said I
Those
am.
words came
You're
out of his mouth.
crazy.
Yes, yes. He said I am there. You watch Naked Humans or no? He said
He
No, I
that.
could.
said
He not
it.
only
It
he
was
said that.
Matthew
Not
Dempsey.
only he said that, but that
He
his homie said
he
that.
said, "I'm here to sell T-shirts,
Exactly.
sell
I'm
T-shirts,
gonna
and
need
Exactly.
that
sell
clip,
tickets."
Chiquis.
Exactly.
I'm gonna need
That
that clip.
exact quote came out of Chicharito's
I
lips.
think if he had said it, we would have
He
been.
said
It
he
would have
said
been
I am
bigger than the whole
he said
"I'm
I am there for
retiring" type of
everyone knows
thing.
it's common knowledge. I don't know why you guys are surprised. He said I am there for marketing. His homeboy, the life coach, said, "Yes, you are there for marketing." It's common knowledge he is there for money. This is no surprise. This is something that's different. Now let me explain the generational thing that I'm telling Joel.
Well, how is that any different than Cristiano Ronaldo going to
It's
Juventus?
not. It's not. Okay, so back in the day when you're talking about,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it's not. There's no
Okay,
difference
so what's it?
Okay.
So why are we bagging Chicharito? Why are we bagging Cristiano Ronaldo for going to
because
Juventus?
because what for going to Juventus?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if it's for
Because he's
marketing,
because he's
why
competing.
why isn't
Because he's
why aren't we crucifying Cristiano
because
Ronaldo?
he's competing.
Serie A is not the top three, though.
He
Serie
he
A
could
is
still he
not,
could still
you
very
know.
well go to
I mean,
Champions
Serie
League.
A
He
is like
still competes.
it's nothing of what it used.
He still competes. We're talking apples and oranges. You're talking MLS. You want to compare MLS to European clubs? Okay, so let me explain. This is also a negative on Mexico
Please explain. Please
as a
explain.
quality of life. Like like long time Mexicans have wanted to, go to Disneyland or vacation to the United States, go to Miami, go to New York City. And now it's becoming a reality of, yes, I'm going to leave Mexico because quality of life is better in the United States. Because Hollywood, because Miami and the beaches and everything. And it's sort of a diss to your own country saying that there's a lesser crime. And I have no problem of saying, yeah, sure, you're going to get robbed in Mexico City, or, there's narco trouble. I have no problems with saying that. But that's a diss saying, okay, yeah, sure, more players are going to leave to the United States because the quality of life is better, because the money is better. And at the same time, you're saying, well, Mexico, it's not
What
the ideal,
monsters? What
not
monsters?
it's not the ideal place to live. It's not the ideal place. And you know why? All these fans that are loving it, that are loving MLS, they're Mexicans, they're pochos that are living in the United States that have done the same exact thing. Well, if not themselves, their grandparents or their parents have done the same exact thing and left Mexico for a better life. And so they understand that. The difference is in certain moments you can have pride and you can defend Mexico and your country that you don't live in anymore because someone says, "Oh, in Mexico it's hostile," and they throw batteries and bags of urine. And then all of a sudden you come all high and mighty saying, "How dare you insult my Mexico?" So it's sort of hypocritical to see all these Mexican MLS fans and loving the Mexicans come to MLS and accept saying that Mexico is a lesser place to live and there's crime and all this stuff and then hype up you know a foreign league that's a rival
Oh
to the
man.
ones you're trying to
Well,
defend as far as your culture. So it's just interesting. I
but
I have no problem with MLS. I'm glad that these guys are here, and
That's very apparent.
I'll go and watch and do whatever. But
I,
I'm not gonna go and and agree with all these MLS fans and all these, and it's not just like Twitter fans. It's MLS articles that are praising and predicting MLS rise to the top and soon to beat Liga MX teams on a regular basis.
well, I just wanted to say two things because I'm gonna have to be going soon. John, I don't know if you heard us earlier. I feel that uh, if Bex promised Pizarro Europe, I could see something similar to when Donovan was sent to EPL on loan, you know. So I could see that happening. And you have to sell him. No team has to pay
Well,
20
it's going to
million
be up to Pizarro for
or
that.
whatever. Yeah, but I'm guessing he would be willing just if he has that spina clavada of like, how could I, how would I've done or just to have played in whatever league. And then the second one, I would like to know what you guys think of what his impact will be. Going to be sort of like Vela, where he's carrying the team and making them exciting to watch, or just doing good stuff. We're seeing highlight reels every other week. Or is he going to be is he going to be a dud?
Honestly, I just don't know because I just don't know if he's been a consistent enough performer,
Mm,
to be put on that level. I mean, Vela for how many years was the third best player in La Liga? What
yeah,
for 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
When like around 2013, 14, 15, where outside of Messi and Ronaldo, there was no one better in La Liga.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
the
that was
take
very
is the the hot take, and Chiquis is gonna like this, is that because MLS is so weak, uh, Pizarro, a guy like Pizarro should just
No,
pretty much walking.
I wasn't gonna say that.
But the,
You want me to give you my
you,
prediction?
yes, I want your hot take,
Okay, but
Chiquis.
let me bring in a sort of a side topic with this prediction. Since I played soccer growing up, not maybe not professional, I have sort of like a unique insight where a non-soccer player or a non-soccer player wouldn't have such insight as a analyst, you know. This is going towards the Rafa Puente sort of drama that went on. But let me get back to the topic. So Pizarro, I think he's gonna have highlight reels of dribbling through and around players, but his decision making at the very end of those plays is going to be suspect. He's probably going to get a lot of good assists and maybe some good goals after dribbling through a wealth of players, but there's going to be a lot of bad passes towards the end as well. He doesn't have the left foot and the scoring accuracy and capabilities that Vela does, so I don't see him being a Vela. He has just the dribbling and maybe holding the ball too long type of talent, which can get some good highlight reels. But then towards the end of he's going to run out of space at the end, hit the end line, go out of bounds. There's going to be some of those types of things. Um, which is going to be it's going to come up short to what Vela does. That's my prediction.
well. I mean, yeah, I mean they're different players.
Yeah,
He's not a goal scorer.
sort of the
So,
playmaker.
if anything, he's a facilitator. Um, I mean, like I said, I mean, I think it's really going to depend on who's in front of him and who, as Chiquis points out, you know. But to me, it's with the new team, you just don't know because I mean, he's going to go with guys that have never played together before in their lives, and try and figure it out over the first 6 weeks, 2 months of the season to see where they are. And I mean, I hope it works out for her. I mean, see, this is the thing I've never understood about Mexico fans. I mean, don't you want Mexico players as possible? Play was a part-time player at Monterrey. He didn't play every game. They're so they have too many. Monterrey and their teams are teams that have too many players. They don't have enough positions to go around, so they have to rotate players. So I think that consistency I think was going to help him a bunch because constantly at Chivas,
Yeah,
and he scored a lot of gigantic goals. Chivas won 2 titles while he was there, and if I'm not mistaken, he scored goals in both the Conca Champions final and also in the final. So
Pizarro.
so he, I think that will definitely having that consistency, which he didn't have in Monterrey. But and again, it's like people are right now are squeezing the rosary because Chucky's not playing in Europe and Edson Alvarez is not playing in Ajax. Go down the list. Oh my God, they're not playing. Yeah, because there's only like 60 Mexican players. Let's have 50 Mexican players.
Oh, cut out.
I'm with you there,
What's
Yon. I'm with you there.
I mean, I would love to see like the LAFC is going to play Leon in the Champions. What matchup? How exciting is that going to
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is. It is, and I
be? Teams
think I took too
right
long.
now,
And
team that had the most team that had points in MLS last year. What a great matchup! How exciting is that? And there's going to be a Mexican at the center of it, and the Mexican at the center.
oh man, yeah, yeah. And you know what? They might have another one. Um, if they wanted to, I guess, because they just let go of a player. They open up like a roster spot. I don't know how these rules work, but I'll be surprised if they didn't go after, you know, uh, they need something they needed something extra there. They plan on challenging again. But on that note, caballeros, I I leave you guys. Um,
I haven't even gotten to the kolaches yet.
I know. We're supposed to start at 7:30, and then that we ended up starting late. So
Sí,
that
pero 7:30.
we ended.
Ya sabes
I,
que son las 8, 8:15.
I
You stayed
know, I
over your
know.
time though, man. That's good.
I did. I did. John came, and I couldn't leave
Yeah,
once John joined us.
you got
But
baby duties, man.
gentlemen,
So
hasta la próxima.
All right, man. Later. All right. You're
being
still there.
honest,
What was that?
not gonna Mexicans say
You're cutting out. I think your signal might be cutting, might be weak or in your current location. So we're losing John over here. Joel is left, and I guess I'm gonna merge into some Liga MX talk because we have on our chat Cesar Quintero, who was complaining too much talking about MLS. Luis, thanks for listening. Makes a comment. XFL is literally outselling MLS and MLS stadiums in the first week. Oh, interesting. I don't even know what XFL is. Some type of football. Cesar says, just ignore MLS. It's why they get so much hostility from Liga MX fans. We're sick and tired of hearing about them. Good luck, guys. Yeah, I agree. That's probably the problem here is the ignoring of MLS fans and media is not happening on my part, and I feel they need to put them in their place. But anyway, this weekend on Liga MX we have San Luis Leon. San Luis got beat by Pumas last week, so Jornada 6 coming up. Also on Friday, Xolos. Oh, Monarcas plays Xolos. Then on Saturday we have Pachuca Puebla, Toluca Pumas on a Saturday afternoon, which is going to be great because we get to watch Pumas playing away, so not the Sunday typical game. And then right after that, we have America and Atlas. And then after, well, actually at the same time, we have Monterrey Juarez. So three games that are going to be really good. And then the nightcap evening game, Chivas Cruz Azul, which is probably the biggest game of the evening, possibly. I really want to watch that Toluca Pumas game. Though Toluca had a tough game against, I believe, Pachuca, and they ended up tying recently. Pumas is doing well. Let's look at the table. Pumas is in second place. Leon is in first. America is in fourth. Cruz Azul is in seventh. Tigres is in eighth. Monterrey, Monterrey is all the way down in last place, and they just got rid of Pizarro. We also have on Sunday Necaxa against Querétaro, and then the final game, which should be a good one as well, is Santos against Tigres. So it's going to be another pretty good Saturday evening, and even on the Super Leader on Friday night, we're going to see Leon probably be able to handle San Luis. San Luis is not doing too well. They're down in 12th spot. Chivas, we want to note, Juan mentioned a little bit of the heat from that Flacotena is getting at Guadalajara. So they're in 10th spot. They're supposed to be super leaders. They're supposed to win two titles in a row. Uh, the Galactico Chivas, and so they're a bit disappointing start to the season. Tigres, they're in 8th place. This is sort of typical for them. They did actually pretty good last week. They beat Chivas 3-0. Pretty good match, spanking them. America. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, it's amazing how the Chivas doblete talk just kind of calmed down after.
Yeah, that I didn't want to say anything
After,
that was gonna happen, but I sort of
geez, I
had a
gotta
sense.
get over after that.
I was waiting for it to happen. I was waiting.
So they went from we're gonna win two. Well, we're gonna win two titles. So now the coach has to go. The coach has to go. Gotta get. Yeah.
It was just so much hype, and the team was supposed to come out of the gates rocking and rolling, and
Always right. The first match, whereas Pumas Chiquis haven't lost.
yeah. So Pumas is they've won 3 and tied 2.
Yeah, Pumas is playing well. I'm a little more bullish on Pumas than I've been in a while. I think that they have a real good chance to not only make the Liguilla, but at least make it to the semifinals, which would be great. Uh, they have a good defense, they have a good scoring punch. A couple of those youngsters are really good. Uh, it's an exciting group of players they have.
Are these
They played Toluca,
new
so
signups coming doing well? The new refuerzos that they get?
so the Colombian guy that came, and yeah, no, they're doing well, yeah. They go down 1-0 and it was over. But no, they've played. They're, I think,
Yeah, so they're in second spot with 11 points. Juarez surprising. Oh,
yeah, these away games.
you're cutting out. So yeah, the Toluca away game. They have away home against Monarcas, and then away Tigres, home against America in 4 weeks. That's going to be the big one. Oh, I see John lighting up his little icon, but I don't hear him. So I guess I'm gonna thank you guys for listening. Thanks Cesar and Luis and everyone else who was listening on the podcast today. I think this pretty much does it. One other topic that I sort of mentioned earlier was the Rafa Puente Jr. drama where he got a little bit upset, sort of like a Neri Castillo type of anger on the press conference and insulted journalists. He wanted to get a jab at the journalists, and this caused outrage from the journalist end of things, and and a lot of drama, especially on TUDN, Mark Rosas, and all those guys on the panel is just spending minutes and minutes and minutes talking about Rafa Puente Jr.'s statements, saying that he was wrong, saying that he shouldn't be saying all this stuff, and then he eventually apologized somewhat. So typical drama, always fun to watch. John has just left. He's on his way home from doing work up there in Dallas, I believe, and so we'll go ahead and close this episode of the CantinaMX podcast. Welcome. I want to thank Joel and John for joining the good discussion we've had, and thank you guys for coming along. We'll post this on all the podcast centers and locations where you can download and listen offline. And we will talk to you guys later. Have a good evening.